And as promised, here we are with a prop, the Ki-43-III Otsu, and it's the one with the 220mm at 4.0, and this thing has some performance behind it. Sure, it's very slow and the compression is horrible, especially in the rudder department at the higher speeds, and I'm talking like 500 kph. The rudder starts to lock up, and it's actually very hard to get guns on target. The speed is very low, the rip speed is very low, and it actually rips quite easily as well, because this thing just doesn't weigh anything, and the force you put on these wings is pretty ridiculous. I got two games for you today, a 6 kill and a 5 kill. And the second game was actually pretty damn close, because, well, you'll see, I'm not going to spoil anything. And I was streaming it to some friends on Discord, which is why you see me rolling around and stuff. And I want you to pay attention, if you didn't see it, go back a little bit, look at that roll rate. If you're rolling at like 5.5 to 6 kilometers or higher, where the air isn't that thick, I can see it here too when I'm deflecting and turning after someone. The roll rate of this thing is absolutely ridiculous. And when you look at these wings, you can see that the ailerons are just massive. That entire red strip and up until the flap point, if you look very closely, is an aileron. And this thing doesn't weigh a lot, it's pretty tiny. So it feels like an RC plane. It just doesn't weigh anything, and it handles like one too. To the point where if people go faster than 450 to 500 kph, it will actually be almost impossible for you to shoot them down reliably. You're really forced to force dogfight on people. The thing is, if people pay attention and if you dive on them, they can just run away. Even more so, a lot of people know the Japanese planes. They see Ki or Ki, I don't know how to pronounce it, doesn't really matter. And they will just run away from you. This I-185, I haven't even completed half the loop and I'm already on the 6. Sure, I had an energy advantage and he's going very slow, and the I-185 doesn't really turn very well. And I want you to pay attention to my rudder. My roll rate, it feels so damn floppy, especially in the tail chase. It's very hard to aim at people, and the thing you want to do is force people into dogfights, stall them out, and once they're hanging from the air, well, any gun is good, anything can kill, and you're gonna see these guns working pretty well this game, and then the other game they will work like 7.7s. They're very inconsistent. They can definitely work if you stall people out, because then you hit all your rounds, and that's how you play this thing. You won't be hitting much at high speed anyway, so you're really just looking to dwindle people down, deplete them of their energy, and then once they're really slow and a very easy shot, you can just dump 20 rounds in the wing, and then of course it will fall right off. XP50 was actually the biggest threat here, but he dies away, and now I have an energy advantage. So it should be a relatively easy kill, as long as he doesn't dive away and try to run from me. The thing is, the XP50 also rips quite early, making it so that it shouldn't be too hard for me to actually get away from him. And then I noticed that the guy he's on, the BF-109, runs to the airfield or sticks to the airfield. So I think, well, the XP50 is probably dead, but then I see the XP50 break off, and the BF-109 re-engages, so I think I'm going to re-engage the XP50 here. I wanted this guy out of the match. It's a very strong plane that has no business at 3.7. Could easily be 4.3. And you can tell that this guy is not going to have much fun here. I'm going 600, so I'm compressing a little bit, which is why I don't really turn that well. But you can tell that the second I put it into the vertical, yeah, this suddenly becomes a lot more of a one-sided match. If you want to kill this thing, keep it fast. Dodge his shots and hope he doesn't start climbing behind you, because when he does, you are just going to die. And there you go. That's like 4 to 6 rounds into the fuel tank. He gets set on fire and he's dead. Now everyone's spread around. Everyone is scattered, so I'm not really sure who to engage, but it looks like the IL-2 and the Yak-3 are RTB, and the IL-2 isn't much of a threat. So I'm going to engage the 3 guys, now 2 guys, because one died to AA over here. Kind of unfortunate, because more kills would have been nice, but you know, can't have it all. ITP, good climb rate, pretty good retention. Thing is, it doesn't turn very well, and he's at a severe energy advantage, or disadvantage rather, and he's just way below me. So, he's stalled out. We are simply going to dive on him, and look at my rudder here. Just kidding. First shot hits him, and I don't need to show you how bad it is to aim. But this guy, you will see it however. We go head on. We dodge the head on, because I don't want to go head on with anything in this thing. The engine is very fragile, and so is the entire plane. ITP should burn up, but ITPs really like, well, putting the fire out. P51 thinks it's a good idea to stall out. Well, if you're that slow, then I'm just gonna shoot you directly in the cockpit and we pilot snipe him. And that's kill number whatever. ITP is going very slow. He's not gonna be doing much here and he's just trying to RTB really. And you're really reliant on these kinds of enemies. If everyone runs away from you, you can force infinite stalemate simply because you climb so well. It climbs pretty close to the J2M2. I'm not sure if it's one-on-one. I think the J2M climbs a little bit better, but it's definitely comparable. And for a 4.0, that's certainly nothing to laugh at. And now we have an IL-2 left, a Yak-3, and another plane that I actually don't know anymore, but we'll figure that out once we get closer. And I've been really enjoying this plane, despite it being very reliant on what the enemy does. And if you want to see a second video on this thing, I have the footage. So if you would like to see a second one on this thing, then let me know in the comments. And otherwise I will just scrap the footage and get rid of it. Firecrest coming in, not the most imposing plane in the game, but he has two M350 cals. And yes, I say this very sarcastically because it's a bit of a joke. At the same time, if one of those rounds hit me and he is using the right belts, big chance he's going to set me on fire, because this thing is just simply, it doesn't like taking damage. So we are gonna dodge his guns. We fly up over him, we still go 400 kph, and I'm going straight up here to bait him into looping after me, but he's going so slow that it actually didn't matter what I tried to bait him into. He was dead from the start. Shoot a few rounds, set him on fire, and I'm not too sure what was going on with my guns these games, but they felt really good. And I don't want to say these are amazing guns, because I've mostly been shooting at very slow targets and sometimes they wouldn't do anything. But in general, these guns have been treating me very, very nicely. And I'm not sure if they're really good right now or if I'm getting lucky. I got about 140 kills, I think, in this thing. And I got like 3 kills per game, I think, 3 or 4. Which is very high, especially considering I only have, well, 2 guns. But I don't know. I don't know what was going on with these games, but I was certainly enjoying it, because if these guns hadn't been doing anything, I probably wouldn't have flown it this much. But Yak-3 coming in, not a very dangerous target either. Like, he can run away from me very handily, but I outturn him and outclimb him, making it so I'm basically forcing him to either camp the base or just run away in a straight line forever and I won't touch him, but he can't really touch me either. We go vertical, bait him into a dogfight, and I'm trying to stay in front of him for now so he completely commits. And once we both go like 300 kph, no chance he's ever getting away anymore. I just pull directly behind him and look how fastly I reverse him after I pull him completely in. Hit a few rounds, set him on fire and kill his pilot. I'm really not sure what's going on with these guns here, but I was certainly enjoying it. And that's 6 kills with like 125 rounds, which really isn't common to me. And I can say it's amazing aim or whatever, but that's all bullshit. I just barely had to hit any rounds and they all just combusted into flames or just died outright. Of course it helped that you stalled them out, but that doesn't change the fact that I only hit like 4 to 6 rounds per target. And as per usual, you are above everyone every game, especially on the smaller maps. Really the only thing that contests you are the air spawn planes, and even all of those you will just be above. I was flying the TAL 154 and let me tell you, this thing was above me. Yeah. Nice air spawn, isn't it? 109 coming in, just kind of go head on, just pull up over him and look how easy it is to just turn in behind him. He's a little bit too slow this time and I'm going a little bit too fast. So we just alter the loop a little bit and we are going to kill him right here. So we get ready to fire, we zoom in and he gets one shot by the other 0. Thanks a lot, but you know, it is what it is. 190 coming in and you don't want to go head on with that thing, but I have some energy here. I'm going 450, I'm highly maneuverable, and I actually have some roll rate to compete with the 190, and there's just very little chance he's ever going to hit this. And I could have pulled in behind the 190, but there's a second one coming in, so I don't want to deal with that. Look where the other one is, see if he doesn't disengage. He isn't, so I can just force a turn like this. He can't even scissor me. I roll with him and I just turn so much better than him. It's kind of insane. So we just pull behind him in about 5 seconds. He's going very, very slow, and the slower we are, the more of an advantage that I get. Set him on fire, as we have been doing all the time. And we just disengage. Look where everyone is. There's a 190 behind me somewhere, and there's also the Yak-3 in the area, and I'm not sure where they are. And I just want to get away from this AA. There's a lot of AA in the middle of this map, and if the AA hits you, very big chance you are not gonna do very well, because as I said about 6 times already, this thing is not very durable. That's a Spitfire. That's something I definitely want to dogfight, because it's a little bit more fair for the Spitfire. And when I say a little bit more, I mean it's still gonna get its shit kicked in, but at least he has somewhat of a turn rate to compete with this. And it's mostly just showing you how nimble it really is, because the lower tier Spitfires are very nimble, especially at low altitude. But of course I can just start climbing. I vastly outclimb this guy, and there's really nothing he's going to be doing. I'm gonna dive in here just to keep up my speed a little bit in case he wants to head on me. And looking at the way he's flying, he probably would have done that, and I don't enjoy it. He's a Spitfire Mark 9, which makes it even easier to kill him, because he's, well, he's still nimble, but he's not that insanely nimble. I get behind him, shoot a few rounds, get a crit, just so effortlessly. Going faster than him now, so we just pull up, and someone on your 6 that has more energy is a thing. But when he's on your 6 with more energy, and he's also a way more maneuverable plane, and I just don't commit to the line and end up in front of you, that is just nothing you're going to be doing. Which is the joy of this thing, because if anyone tries to get rid of you, it's simply not going to happen. Hit him a few times, and that's the bipolar effect of the whole fight. Sometimes they just don't do anything. Of course he still crashed, but if this was at a higher altitude and we were near their base, he could have easily just RTB'd. And that's a problem with this thing, because if you have to go near AA whatsoever, you are going to die. And there's one thing about this plane which is kind of quirky, and there's a little module right below the cockpit, like below the stick, naturally of course. And if that gets hit by any flak whatsoever, and I'm talking midfield AA, base AA, a flak truck or a machine gun from the ground, your ailerons will simply cease to exist and they won't be controllable anymore, because it's like a cable that only controls the ailerons, just like you have for the tail section on a lot of planes. And the hilarious thing about that is, it's really not much other than a minor inconvenience. You can easily still get this thing back to base, land it, because you don't stall until like 100 kph with the flaps down. If you put this thing in the straight vertical, you will helicopter till about 30 to 40 kph. It will just handle like an RC plane. Sure, killing people is very annoying if you don't have ailerons, but that's the only thing really. You can still defensive fly. With the rudder, it rolls a little bit left and right. You still pull very well, and you still have some ridiculous climb rate. So you can just go back to base, just land it. If you're getting boom and zoom by 4 people once you take off, sure, you're not going to be doing much. And if people disengage from you, then it becomes very hard. But if people fly it like they usually do in Air Hobby, and they all try to stick on you because they have that mentality that they are with 4 of them, and they can easily kill you, they are probably all going to die. If they keep their energy, if people start above you in this thing, however, it's very hard to regain the energy advantage, because you're not fast enough to disengage and then get your altitude back up to equalize the energy state. They're going to keep pushing you down. If there's only 1 guy, not much of a problem. If it's 2, annoying, but it's doable. Once it becomes 3, you are probably just dead. There's not much you're going to do if they're really playing it right. They're not going to be doing anything to you either, because you're very hard to hit. Join the fight here with the furball of the A6M5. Yak is definitely putting the most amount of pressure on. He's presenting himself with a pretty easy broadside shot here. Set him on fire yet again, because the guns have been treating me pretty nicely. Turn on after him, so I want him to not get back on my 6 and then kill me. Get some more hits, he's probably going to be dead. And now the last 2 guys are going to be these 2 PE8s. And if you start looking at our base, which I will do in a second here, we don't have much health left. And, well, I have to wait for the PA to leave the airfield, because I'm just going to get 1 shot by that AA. Not worth it, too slow, and my guns don't do enough damage. So I'm going to need to shoot either an engine or the cockpit, which is what I'm going to be doing here. I want to go head on with it. It's the most safe bet here. He only has a Shikaz in the nose. He manages to nick my engine twice. Now he's orange. I have to RTB, because if he shoots my engine out, I might be able to kill this one, but I won't be able to defend versus the second one. So I'm going to speed this one up. We are going to go RTB. Thing is, I have engine damage, and this guy is now pretty damn close. I just landed. I'm going to start repairing here. And the thing is, he's pretty low, and he's not very fast, which means he has to get very close to drop his bomb on the runway. But it's still a 5-ton bomb, so there's a very big chance he's going to be just in range, and if it hits, well, we lose. And I managed to make this game as long as I could on YouTube, so you can't really see in terms of the time bar if I'm going to make it or not. But the A6M crit him, he turned straight up and he's on fire and he goes into a flat spin. And because he was so slow and because he was pulling up, there is very little forward inertia in that bomb. Look at that takeoff run, basically a helicopter, but he dropped. And that bomb might still get just near enough the base to kill it. Will it, however? Just short of the runway, and it really that was a very, very close bomb drop. A second one coming in, only 5 kilometers away. Same principle, however. He's low, he's slow, he has to go through the AA, and he has to get very close here. But that doesn't matter because he can just soak the damage, push on through, and just act like a bulldozer. He kills the A6M, which is less than ideal. And he starts shooting at me now. I have all the ammo in the world because I just took off. I see that 5-ton bomb. I get a lot of hits on this guy. He's on fire, but I need to make sure this guy dies right here. If he dies, then we will beat his ticket bleed. He gets set on fire again. Spray some more. And we just kill him in time. He just didn't drop the bomb. Very close. A little bit too close for comfort, really. But that's a win. And again, if you would like to see more Ki-43 footage, it's similar footage to this. It's very similar, actually. It's a little bit more action-packed and a little bit more cherry-picked, so to speak. No, actually, that's not true. It's relatively the same as this, but if you want to see more commentary on this plane, then feel free to ask for it. The skin is from a very old event. You can't get it anymore. Maybe you can download it on the market, but this is an actual in-game one that you can't get anymore. And there you have it. Ki-43-III Otsu, absolute rat plane. Post this rat in my server. Hope you enjoyed it. New video probably somewhere around Tuesday or later because I'm very busy this weekend. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and see you all in the next one.